Here is the Dvar Malchut, the royal words of the Rebbe, words of kingship, whatever, of the Rebbe. It's a speech that the Rebbe gave right in the beginning of 1992. 1992. Just a few months before he was going to have a stroke. He had a stroke and another stroke. That made it impossible for him to speak. So these are very important. These are like, summations, summaries of what our generation is supposed to do. What our generation is supposed to do. Shabbos Parshas Va'era, this is the 29th day of Tevet. This blesses the month of Shvat, which this coming is going to be that way. Shvat Tavshin Nun Beit. So it's the last Shabbat of the month of Tevet, and it's blessing the month of Shvat. Now in Chabad, the month of Shvat is very important because that's the month in 1950 that the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, he passed away, and he gave, he really did not pass away, but ostensibly, yes, he passed away. Like it says that the Talmud says that Jacob didn't really die, and that Moses, it says also another place, he didn't die. And in fact, nobody really dies. The soul is eternal, but also there's going to be the raising of the dead. It's one of the 13 principles of Judaism that every Jew never really dies. Never really dies. Okay, but nevertheless, on Yud Shvat, the previous Rebbe in 1950, he passed away. And on Yud Shvat, the next year, Yud Aleph Shvat, more exactly, the next year, the Rebbe accepted the leadership of Chabad. Accepted. Okay, so the month of Shvat is very important. And in fact, there's a mime which is called Bati Lagani, which I did last year, and I'm going to try to upload that this year also. So we'll see if I succeed. Parshas Va'era. In the beginning of our Torah portion, now this week's Torah portion is talking about the first 7 plagues that God sends down on the Egyptians, the first 7 of the 10 plagues. So again, we're starting with the same questions we had before. Moses asked in the end of last week's Torah portion, God, why are you torturing the Jewish people? Why are you doing it to them? And God says back to Moses this answer: I appeared to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the name El Shaddai, but the name Yud-Kei Vav-Kei I did not make known to them. Therefore, I'm saying now to the Jews, I am Yud-Kei Vav-Kei, this name of God. That's what we started talking about in Torah Or. We just finished learning. Good. Okay, that's what he said. Makes sense? Not so much, right? Why are the Jewish people suffering? Why do we have to suffer? Because I appeared to Abraham, and then this name of God, which is called El Shaddai, and now I want to reveal a new name to them, and therefore they're suffering. Okay, that's the answer. It says, I appeared to Abraham, to Yitzchak, and Yaakov in the name El Shaddai, but my name Yud-Kei Vav-Kei I did not make known to them. Therefore, go to say to the Jewish people, I am Yud-Kei Vav-Kei. Okay. Says the Rebbe Tzorkel Dalvin. We have to understand. We're going to have a lot of questions over here. B'nogea letochen ktuvim elu. Regarding these sentences, that Abraham, we just finished saying, that Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, God revealed himself only in this name, El Shaddai. That's, I guess, a low name of God. Not so. Who knows what that means? But he didn't reveal himself to the name, in this name, Yud-Kei Vav-Kei. He didn't reveal it. But to the Jewish people now, God wants to reveal himself in the name Yud-Kei Vav-Kei. Like it's explained in Chassidut. We just finished learning, right, in Torah Or. Ich matim, how is it relevant? Lochein, therefore. What is it? Let's look and see. What does it say? I appeared to Abraham. Let's make this one. I appeared to Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and this name El Shaddai. And the name Yud-Kei Vav-Kei I did not make known to them. Therefore, go and say to the Jewish people, I am God. What do you mean, therefore? It could have said, I appeared to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in one name. I want to appear in another name. Tell the Jewish people, what does it mean? Therefore, go and what is it? Why therefore? This seems to be that it's a result that comes out from what happened beforehand. Namely, what? I appeared to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in one name. I want to appear to the Jews in another name. Therefore, go and tell the Jews this other name. Namely, that God said, go to the Jewish people and tell them this other name of God, Yud-Kei Vav-Kei. This is because I appeared to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. This seems to be exactly the opposite of what's being spoken about over here. What is God saying? I want to do something new. It's like saying that to a person, let me try to think of a good example. Okay, it's like saying, you are the professor. We're choosing you to be the professor of mathematics in this university. Why? Because there were children previously that learned the addition and subtraction in Nebraska. What's one got to do with the other one? What's one got to the other one? Because there were children that learned lower mathematics in Nebraska, therefore we are making you the head of the theoretical mathematics in Harvard or something like that. What's one got to do with the other one? Not only that, one doesn't have to do with it, but the sentence seems to imply that it does have something to do. Because there was children that learned mathematics in Nebraska, therefore, that's the reason why you are being given the Nobel Prize for mathematics. Right? Mathematics. What's the connection? That he's being given the Nobel Prize because he discovered something new. He's doing something new. And that the children learned mathematics in Nebraska, that's an old thing. That's nothing to do. Same thing here. What's God saying? Moses, the reason I want that you're going to get this new revelation is because Abraham and Isaac and Jacob, they got this low name of God. It's like children learning mathematics in Nebraska. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob totally removed from you. Therefore, I'm going to give the Jewish people this totally brand new name, which is Yud-Kei Vav-Kei. It doesn't make any sense. The word lachen doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense. It seems that it seems to be the saying that what the reason God said, I'm giving you this new revelation is because Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they got a low revelation. And you're getting a new, therefore, depending on what they did, you're getting this. But it's not so. What God is giving to Moses now is a totally independent and unconnected name of God, which has nothing to do with which was before. This is a totally new thing. You're going to all know, all the Jewish people are going to know that I am Yud-Kei Vav-Kei. This was not by Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Simply speaking, we're talking about the giving of the Torah. When God gave the Torah, he revealed himself to all the Jewish people. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob did not have this. Did not have this. A totally new thing. If so, what they did, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, it wasn't a cause for the revelation of Mount Sinai. It wasn't a cause. It was just a thing in history. Right? In history, they got this name, but I want to give you a new name. It's unconnected. Why does God say therefore? Because what they did, therefore I'm giving you something new. We'll see. Even more. Tochen, the whole content of what we're talking about is Malat Bnei Yisrael is talking about how special and unique the Jewish people, Shidkaleh, that there's going to be revealed to them this name Yud-Kei Vav-Kei. It's a name that even Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob didn't get. This whole Torah portion is talking about how special the Jews are. Even the simplest Jew that was in Egypt, that got out, is going to receive revelations that Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob didn't get. Therefore, it's this Torah portion is talking about how the Jewish people are totally different than Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. But what's the name of this week's Torah portion? Vo'era, I appeared. This is referring to how God appeared to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Namely, Shaparsha Shaboma Dubar. It's talking about how the Jewish people received this new revelation that the Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob didn't receive. It's taught, but it's named on the name of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Why? It shouldn't. God should just be. First of all, a person learning the Torah, we take it for granted that he's learned the Torah in some sort of an order. He's already learned the book of Genesis. He knows about Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And it didn't say, God doesn't say, to Abraham, the Yitzchak, I'm revealing it this level to you because of what Abraham did. I'm revealing to Yaakov because of what Yitzchak did. Right? And even if he did, the revelations that God had to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, there was a little bit closer one to the other. That's why they're called one group, they're called the fathers. Here, all of a sudden, Jewish people were in Egypt. They're getting a totally new thing, which was incomparable to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So it could have just continued on. God could say, I'm speaking to the Jewish people. Moses, tell the Jewish people, I'm giving them a new revelation. I'm giving them a new revelation. What does God have to even mention that Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they got this level, but you're going to get a new one. Just say I'm giving something new. We know what Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob received. It was stated before. God spoke to them. Now God could just say to the Jewish people, Moses, go and say to the Jewish people, they are receiving a new revelation. And then say the revelation. What does he have to mention what Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob did? We appeared to them in this name, but you're going to get a higher name. What does he have to mention it before? Right? But this is the Torah, so it must be very important. So let's see what the importance is. Yeterem Mizu, even more. Tochen Parsha, the whole content of this week's Torah portion is. Oh no, we did that. Okay, so why does it begin with how God appeared to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? It wasn't a cause to what's going on now. This is just a new thing God decided to give to the Jews. Right? It seems to be Shekivin Shenikrum Avot, because Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob are called the fathers. Kamudgash Vapirish Rashi, like it's explained in Rashi, Be'era ala Avos, that Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, it seems because they're called fathers, so they must be higher than the rest of the Jews. A father is, a child has to honor his father. The same thing is the Jews, now that they're going to receive the revelation of Mount Sinai, so it's stressing that they're better than Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. But on the other hand, it says that Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, there are fathers. A father is superior to the son. A father teaches the son. The father is the source. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they're the source of the souls of the Jewish people, so to speak. They're closer to God. They have they have something better than all the children that come after them. Even though that the sons will be revealed, this name Yud-Kei Vav-Kei, that wasn't revealed to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. But still, the fact of the matter is Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob were better. They're called fathers. And even more, Shamayla Ta'avot, that Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they're even higher than Moses. To Moses, God said, I am Yud-Kei Vav-Kei. And Al Yado, by means of Moses, was the revelation of this name Yud-Kei Vav-Kei to all the Jewish people. The source of all being, the reason for all being was revealed to Moses. So Moses was very high. But nevertheless, what did God say to Moses? Chaval al da'avdan v'lo mishtachim. It says, woe to the, God says, I'm regretting Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that there's no people like them. Yeshli litonen almita. God says, I am mourning. I am in pain, suffering, because there's no one like Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob around. Why? Harba pamim I appeared to them in the name Yud-Kei El Shaddai. And v'lo amru ma shemecha. They didn't ask what's your name, and you tell what is his name. Okay, what's the story? Last week we learned that Moses in the burning bush. Last week the gentleman, Moses came to God and said, God, why are you making the Jewish people suffer? Why are they suffering at all? Tell me, God, the Jewish people are going to ask your name. What is your name, God? Tell me a little bit more about you, God. I want to understand what's going on over here. Why are you not keeping your promises? We got the Jewish people, the promised people. What are they suffering for? What? So God said, oh, yeah, Moses, if only Abraham and Isaac and Jacob were here. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, I drove them crazy. God said, I promised them all sorts of things, and I didn't come across with anything. I promised them that they're going to have seed like the stars in heaven and like the sand on the sea. I promised them that they're going to get the land of Israel. It's going to be theirs. And I didn't give it to them. And they didn't ask any questions. They didn't ask any questions. They were totally okay with that. And now you, Moses, all of a sudden you're asking all these questions about me, right? Just accept the fact I'm the creator. I'm creating you. You're not creating anything, Moses. Just accept like Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob did. Why are you asking questions, Moses? So we see from that that at the end of the week's Torah portion, right? Last week, Moses said, why are you making the Jewish people suffer? What is your name, God? What is it? God said, I regret that I lost Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, those were real Jews. Not like you, Moses, you got all these questions, all these doubts. What are you asking for? So if so, we see from this that Moses was not as high as Abraham as Jacob. We see that it's woe to me that the fathers are gone and that they're not found anymore. And many times I appeared to the Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in just this lower name of mine, El Shaddai, and they didn't ask me about your name. And you're asking, what is my name? You want to know all these details. Ha'avot, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, lo hiru acharei midotai. They didn't ask any questions about what I'm doing. Right? God, you said you promised us the land of Israel. Why aren't you giving it to us? Why are you sending us into Egypt? What's going on? They didn't ask any questions. They just realized that I'm always right. I'm the creator. And you said, Lama Hariota. You said, why are you making the Jewish people suffer? You so much that this Torah portion is called Era Ela Avos. I appeared to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. This is the cause that would be afterwards the revelation to Moses. So if so, now we've answered the question. Somehow or other, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they were higher than Moses. Because of what Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob did, so they gave them, their merits were passed on to the children. Because as Av Zochel Ben says, a father gives merit to his son. To his son. There's a different way. What's this in Adios, right? In Adios, 1 second, 9. Yeah, Adios, right? In the Mishnah's Adios, in the end. It says, Maisa Avos Siman Labanim. What the fathers did, this helps out the sons. But Lashon HaKatuv, like it says, Va'erel Avram, when it says that I appeared to Abraham, therefore tell the Jewish people, etc. So it seems that Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they were even better than Moses was. So we have a lot of questions here. One of the main questions is, God is giving a new revelation to Moses. He's giving a new revelation that wasn't to Abraham and Isaac and Jacob. And says the Rebbe, at first glance, two questions, opposite questions. Number one, if it's a new revelation, so what are you talking about Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob for? What's the great? Not only that, why is God giving it to Moses? In a lot of ways, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob were better than Moses. Why didn't he give this revelation to them? They were better. God even said, I missed them. They served me unquestioningly. And Moses, you have all these questions. The explanation is like this. Mavur B'dorshi Chasidut. It's explained in the teachings of Chasidut that the revelation of the name Yud Ke Vav Ke, that's the name of God's essence. That's what's called God's essential name, the unique name of God. This is a level of godliness which is above any levels of creation. It's above the spiritual. This God revealed when he gave the Torah. And therefore, Eitzel Avos by Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that they were before the giving of the Torah. It says, I appeared to them only in this lower name of godliness, which is called El Shaddai. The word Shaddai seems to me, it's translated as that is enough. And I just gave enough godliness to keep the world going. El Shaddai. This is a level of godliness which is relevant to the world. But Shemi Hashem, the name Yud Kei Vav Kei, to Abraham and Isaac and Jacob, I did not make known to them. But by the Jewish people, when they got the Torah, and they received the Torah on Mount Sinai, then there was revealed the essence name of God, the creator of all the spiritual worlds, of all the levels. And that's what was revealed in Mount Sinai. Like it says, say to the Jewish people, I am God, Yud Kei Vav Kei, and I took them out of Egypt. I'm taking them out of the suffering in Egypt, and I am taking them to me to be a people. And they will know that I am Yud Kei Vav Kei, this essence name of God. In other words, simple language, God showed Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob a level of reality, which was infinitely more real than this world, but it was still connected to the world. And God is now wants to show to all the Jewish people a level of godliness which is infinitely higher than that. It's God's essence even before he created, the reason why God's creating the world. That's the Torah. The Torah came before the world. If there wasn't a world, then you can't do what it says in the Torah. The Torah is all commandments, what to do in this physical world. 6 days you should work, and the 7th day you should rest, etc. This is all talking about things in the world. Honor your father and mother. You have to have a father and mother, right? Don't steal means that you're not supposed to steal from other people, right? There has to be possessions there, etc. So there has to be a world, but the purpose of the world comes from God's essence reason. So from God's essence comes the Torah and comes the world. When did God reveal the reason why he's making the world? When he gave the Torah. And that's why we say, a lot of the people, they say that if you want a controversial statement, that Judaism is not a religion. Why is it not a religion? Because religion is something that's in the world. It tells you how to get from this world to the next world. And Judaism is talking about the creator of the world. It's talking about the essence of how important this physical world is, why God wants it to be here. It's talking about bringing God himself into the essence of the world. So that's going out of religion. Religion is out of the world, if you want to call it. It's just a detail of the world to get you out of the world, out of the physical world, into the spiritual. And Judaism is talking about why God is making the whole creation, how the whole creation is so important. It's talking about the essence of God revealing in the world. Okay. Even though that Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they were before the giving of the Torah, but in addition to the fact that it says that Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that they did the whole Torah before it was given, because like I said, the Torah was before the world, so they just tapped into this. But it's known that by means of Abraham was the beginning of the giving of the Torah. Like it says in the commandment of circumcision, when Abraham circumcised himself, this was a preparation for the physical commandments that were going to be after Matan Torah, after the giving of the Torah. That by means of the circumcision that Abraham did, he took a physical thing, part of his body, and he did a permanent godly thing with it. That was the first time this was ever done. This drew down holiness in a physical thing, that in it you do the commandment. Like it says, Sim no yadchak tachat yorechi. Afterwards, when God he made Eliezer, his servant, swear. So you're supposed to swear on a holy thing, like on a Torah, on a surface. So there was no Torah then, Abraham. The only holy thing that was in the world was Abraham's circumcision. So he said, Eliezer, I want you to swear to me that you'll 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 marry my son to a proper woman. They sent him to find a wife for Yitzchak. I want you to swear on a Torah. So, but there's no Torah. Okay, so swear on tefillin. There's no tefillin. There's only one commandment in the world, and that is your circumcision. So Abraham said, okay, so swear on the circumcision. Put your hand under my thigh. Because a person that swears, he's supposed to take a holy thing on a holy thing. Therefore, Shechirush Matan Torah, the novelty of the giving of the Torah, was drawing down godliness in the world, joining the upper worlds to the lower worlds. And Mount Sinai, before Mount Sinai, spiritual was spiritual and physical was physical, and there was no connection between them. You wanted to be a spiritual person, so you had to leave the world. You couldn't do physical things in the world and make them closer to God. The world was far away from God. That's the way God created it. When God gave the Torah, he negated this decree. And he said, the upper worlds will come down. God said, I'm going to come down and give physical commandments. And the physical commandments with those you can get up to the highest levels. That began, and that started off with the commandment of circumcision of Abraham. And even the joining of the upper worlds and the lower worlds. It began with the circumcision was relevant to just one limb of Abraham. Abraham was, it says, a vehicle for godliness. We can say, Shemarumas Gama Kesher V'Sheichus Lapula Ba'olam. Even though that true, the circumcision was just one limb in one Jew. So how can this compare to the giving of the Torah, which was revelation of godliness in the whole entire physical world, the whole Tachtoni Mamish, in all of the details and all the little details of the world. But nevertheless, there was one thing that was similar, that in the circumcision, even though it was just dealing with one person and one limb of that person, right? Just where Abraham's just circumcision, how is that affecting the world? Because it opened up the door. It opened up the door. And it opened up the door in many ways. First of all, before Abraham was circumcised, he couldn't give birth to Yitzchak. He couldn't give birth to Yitzchak. And after Abraham was circumcised, this was a commandment of God. God actually put his commandment, his will, into the physical world, so to speak, to tell you, you want to know why I'm creating the world, so that you can do what I want to in the world. And the first time that this was ever done, exactly what God wanted in the world, was when Abraham circumcised himself. God told him, circumcise yourself and circumcise your children when they're 8 years old. It was a commandment from God, the first commandment that was ever given by God, a permanent way, to the Jewish people. So when Abraham sent Eliezer, his servant, to find a bride for his son Yitzchak, that Yitzchak was born as a result of the circumcision. So he said, what I want from this marriage between Yitzchak and his wife that you're going to find, that ended up to be Rivka, it has to also be a permanent connection to God in the world, just like the circumcision. So therefore, he made him swear on the circumcision, Bekesha the Shidduch, and the marriage of Yitzchak and Rivka. This unifies, it says, Ma and Ban. Remember, we learned about the two different names of God. This is godliness that comes from above to below, and Ban is the inspiration of godliness coming from below to above, what we do. That this is the whole idea of serving God with the Torah and the commandments. Then God comes down, that's this name of God, which is called Ma, 45, and it inspires us to go up. That's the name Ban, from below to above. That by means of this is drawn down holiness in the physical world. That's the whole idea of the commandments, to make this world more holy. That's the whole thing of the circumcision. That's the marriage. That's why Abraham made Eliezer swear on his circumcision, on Abraham's circumcision. By means of Eliezer, the servant of Abraham, that also relevant to the marriage of Yitzchak. Abraham said to Eliezer, B'ni Baruch, my son is blessed, and you are cursed. Ein arur medabek b'baruch. Blessed cannot be connected with cursed. Yitzchak was the son of Abraham. Abraham was blessed by God. Abraham was blessed by God. Yitzchak, Eliezer was not blessed by God. Abraham became the first Jew. He became the first Jew. So he said, my son Yitzchak is, he's my son. He came from my circumcision. He is blessed. And you aren't blessed. You didn't come from a circumcision. You weren't blessed by God, etc. So therefore, it says that Eliezer, when Abraham told him, go and find a bride for my son Yitzchak, so Eliezer said, I have a daughter also. And Abraham said, your daughter can't be a match for my son. You are blessed. I'm saying I am blessed and my son is blessed, and you are cursed. It can't come from you. Okay, you can ask a question. How can Rivka came from Betuel? We'll talk about that later. Nevertheless, it says, Mikol lemitka she'al yedei zeh. I'm saying, I skipped. Mikol nasa shidduch. The shidduch was made with Yitzchak and Rivka by means of Eliezer Davka. Eliezer himself, even though Abraham said that you're cursed, Abraham said, I don't want to make this marriage on my own. You'll be the matchmaker. And in this, it stresses that transforming darkness to light and bitterness to sweetness, that Eliezer, that he was not part of the blessing. He was not part of the blessing that God gave to Abraham, but Abraham, by means of utilizing him to make this, is he elevated Eliezer. That by means of this, it joined the upper worlds with the lower worlds. So we see that the circumcision, first of all, it gave birth to Yitzchak. Secondly, that when Eliezer went out to look for a match, is he was swore on this circumcision of Abraham, and the connection between Yitzchak and his wife Rivka, it says, is the connection between Ma and Ban, which is essentially godliness and worldliness. In addition to that, Abraham also elevated Eliezer by means of the circumcision. He enabled him to swear and to do his job, that he could do. And in this is stressed the whole idea of transforming darkness to light and bitterness to sweetness. By means of this is joined the upper worlds and the lower worlds in a complete way. This is the preparation for Mount Sinai. So that's what he's saying. How is it that circumcision prepared for the giving of Mount Sinai when God was revealed everywhere? So he said that's what the circumcision did. It revealed godliness in the world. First of all, that Yitzchak was born. He was the continuation of the Jewish people. And the marriage of Yitzchak and Rivka, that's the same thing as Torah and the commandments, connecting the upper worlds and the lower worlds. And even more, that he used Eliezer. He elevated even the non-Jews. That's the job of the Torah. And since that's what God said, but Ariel Avram, I appeared to Abraham, God is saying to Moses now, right? Moses asked a question from God, why are you making the Jewish people suffer? So God said, let me explain something. I appeared to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in this name El Shaddai. And this is relevant. When did I appear to them? When the commandment of circumcision. Abraham, when he got circumcised, was circumcised himself. It says, God said to him, Ani El Shaddai, etc. That was the beginning of the giving of the Torah. Therefore, we have to say, Tzorech Lomar, Al Kein Tzorech Lomar, She'nichlal B'zed is included also the beginning of the revelation of the name of God when the Torah was given. So Abraham, by circumcising himself, that began the Jewish people. It began the elevation of the world, Eliezer. So Abraham, essentially, he opened the door for the giving of the Torah. And that's why God is saying to Moses, you're you're in Egypt, suffering in Egypt, in order that I'm going to give the Torah. Then I'm going to reveal my essence name. But who began this whole thing of me revealing my essence in the world? Abraham began it. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And that's why the name is called Va'era, that I appeared to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, because this whole idea of God appearing in the world began with them. It began with Abraham, especially with the circumcision, when Abraham made the bris milah, because that was the first time that God personally told a Jew to do something physical that would have a permanent effect on the world, a permanent commandment. As we'll talk about more, God willing, tomorrow. Now let's do the Yom Yom.